And thanks for joining us. This afternoon, former Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Emmanuel Bombande is wading into the whole Israel's war on Hamas, urging the Republic of Ghana to vote in favor of two key United Nations resolutions that will be seeking to create a humanitarian corridor and also exploring a possible ceasefire to Israel's war on Hamas. Now, the Ghanaian diplomat is unhappy about the country's passive posture on the latest tension in the Middle East, adding that the country's leadership role and influential position at the United Nations Security Council must be brought to bear in order to promote peace in the region. As the death toll in the Israeli-Hamas war soars and calls increase for a ceasefire and the need for humanitarian support, Joy News has been engaging envoys of the two warring factions here in Ghana. First off, we start with the ambassador of Palestine to Ghana, who has been speaking to us, indicating to us that the Palestinian authorities are open for peace talks. Here's what Ambassador Abdel Fattah Ahmed Khalil al-Satari told me on the polls.
Some people like to say that Hamas attacked Israel on that day. Because of that, Israel attacked Palestine. The conflict did not start on the 7th of October. The conflict started when Israel started to occupy my people and my country and our lands. From 1967 to now, hundreds of thousands from my people killed by the Israelis. And this is not the first war, as your friend said, against Gaza. You know, in 2014, Israel killed more than 2,650 from my people. And 5 of them was children. I cannot understand. Those children attacked Israel with the rockets. The children entered the border and attacked the Israeli soldiers and the settlers inside Israel. In that war 2012, the Israelis killed more than 700 from my people. And Israel attacked Gaza, not Gaza attacked Israel. In the war 2012, the Israelis killed more than 700 from my people. In the war 2014, they killed more than 2,000 people. And they destroyed more than 100,000 houses to the people. So this conflict did not start in the 7th of October. And we should talk only if we want to understand what's happening in Palestine. The conflict, not between Hamas and between Israel. Maybe some people like to say it like this, but the conflict between all the Palestinian people, all the Palestinian people in the West Bank, in Gaza, the people who's lived, Israel transferred them from their housing from 1948 and 1967, and they cannot back to their housing. Israel think in that time that my people, the older will forget Palestine as their state, and the older, will die, and the young boys will forget their country. This did not happen at all and will not happen, because the father teaches their children everything, the history about Palestine and the geography about Palestine and everything about this conflict. And believe me, now our children know information about this conflict more than us. About the General Secretary, he told, because he know exactly what's happening in Palestine. He know exactly what's happening in Palestine. And he tried to say the truth yesterday. And he said the Palestinian people did not do, in the 7th of October, did not do something against the Israelis. This did not come like this.
Well, that's the position of the Palestinian mission here in Ghana. Al-Satari speaking to me there on the pulse. But moments after the Israeli ambassador to Ghana, Shlomit Sufa, also speaking to Evan Spencer on PM Express, says there is currently no room for peace talks until Israel has dealt with the threats to its people, suggesting Iran has a hand in the activities happening on the Gaza Strip.
Didn't hear anyone talking about, with the Palestinian representative, over 220 hostages taken to the Gaza Strip, including a 6-month-old baby. What kind of monster will snatch babies from their beds and hold them? We don't know where. There's no telling of their well-being. They have no connection to their families. There's no connection to the Red Cross. We need to see the international community focusing on, you're talking about humanitarian issues. We want to see how the rights of the Israelis being held, and not just Israelis, by the way, also a couple of dozens of foreigners, held. We've seen pictures of these children held in cages.
That may be the case, and
this is not the time to talk about peace.
It's not the time to talk about peace.
It is not a time to talk about peace. Because if,
Why
if you
is that?
stop now Israel, if you stop us and do not enable Israel to destroy Hamas capabilities, the only thing that you'll be doing is to zero the timer for the next escalation. There is no peace, there's no reconciliation, there's no settlement with this entity that is about destroying a state. It's not about the Palestinian
You said that
rights.
this is not a time to talk about peace. The first attempt to get a UN resolution was to have a humanitarian pause. Ghana abstained in that vote. Give me your reaction to that.
We believe that Ghana is reviewing very carefully. I'm not here to talk on behalf of Ghana, but I understand that Ghana is reviewing very carefully each and every draft resolution, and they're making very careful decisions about that will demonstrate best the interests of Ghana. And again, I am the representative of Israel, so it.
And that was the Israeli ambassador speaking on PM Express. There's a lot of development on this as we're learning of some petitions, which we'll talk about. But first, let's talk about international relations and conflict resolution expert Emmanuel Bombande, who says that Ghana must not be seen as taking sides with Israel while looking on as the lives of some Palestinians are being taken. He's then urging government to condemn the continuous attack on Gaza. The former Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister has been speaking to us as well here on the Pulse.
First of all, the foreign ministry must come again. You cannot talk about the right of Israel to defend itself and be silent on the human rights of the Palestinians who are suffocating, besieged, and occupied, and expect that your statement would have value. Because that statement is spineless and it does not represent the overall people of Ghana. Why do I say that? Because Ghana is the black star that was the trailblazer against the oppression of Africans. Africans, more than anybody else, understands what it means to fight for freedom. 400 years of slavery, more than 200 years of colonization that continues with neo-colonization, and the fight for liberation and independence. So we are in solidarity with anybody in this world who is under oppression. But that solidarity is meaningful when we support justice and fairness for all. Secondly, we do not stand with Israel, and for that matter, we are against Palestine. We stand with the Palestinians in solidarity for their freedom, for their justice. And the only way we can now meaningfully support Israel is in our preventive diplomacy to convey to Israel that their security is linked and interconnected with the security and the respect of the human rights of the Palestinians.
Well, the protest is unfolding here in Ghana as well as on this story. The coalition of Muslim organizations in Ghana are today petitioning the United Nations Secretariat in Accra, condemning the attacks on Palestinian civilians and also taking on President Akufo-Addo for what they say is the violation of Ghana's traditional foreign policy of non-alliance. Here are excerpts of what transpired earlier today.
On behalf of our stakeholder organizations and institutions, would like to present to you a petition addressed to, I'm not sure whether that is the right designation, His Excellency, the Secretary General of United Nations, through your office. Basically, our concern is all about fairness, that the good people of Palestine have never had for years. But before then, we would like to congratulate your Secretary General for being bold to say as it should. He has told the world, and within hours, there has been a threat for him to resign. We, of good people of Ghana, we are behind him. He has said what is on the heart of all soft-hearted human beings who believe in humanity and equality in this world. For us, in our statement, we are urging the United Nations to take serious action against Israel. Israel has violated many resolutions and protocols, etc., that was agreed at the General Assembly and even at the Security Council. For us, we think that Israel ought to be sanctioned. Instead of Israel having the courage to rather say that the Secretary General tender his resignation, we think that the world should listen to the Secretary General and ensure that the Israelis or Israel should be sanctioned seriously. So that's our humble appeal. It is our hope that it will get to the Secretary General that there are people around the world who listen to him. There are people around the world who believe in what he believes in. And it is our hope that serious action will be taken against Israel. We cannot say this without re-echoing our position that our foreign policy does not reflect what it's perceived to be the position of Ghana. The Ghanaian policy, foreign policy, does not or is not always on the side of the oppressor. We believe that Ghana should have taken serious position and support the proposal by Russia against Israel. And for Ghana to have abstained, we think it is not the right way to go. And it does not reflect the position of good people of the Republic of Ghana.
Say that I note your statement and I receive for onward transmission to the Secretary General of the United Nations the petition and statement that you have handed to me just now. Let me clarify first that my role as representative of the Secretary General in Ghana is to lead the UN development system here in Ghana to coordinate its work towards supporting Ghana to achieve its development aspirations. And of course, the UN's position on this subject which you have brought is both public and can be accessed on the UN website. Your message regarding Ghana, I think, is more appropriately addressed to the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. Let me conclude by confirming that I commit to ensuring that I will convey your petition to the Secretary General today. Thank you for coming and thank you for your statement.
Well, except for what transpired earlier today when the coalition of Muslim organizations petitioned the UN Secretariat here in Accra. So exactly what are the demands and why is this protest being staged here in Ghana? Joining us now is Haj Abdul Manan Abdul Rahman, who's president of the coalition of Muslim organizations here in Ghana. Haj, thank you for spending some time with us. Very controversial statements you're making there, indicating that Ghana should not be on the side of the oppressor. Who's the oppressor in this case?
Thank you very much for having me. Of course, you are talking about Israel. Israel is oppressing people who have no arms, who have no control over their own land, and we think that Israel should be sanctioned by the world. Unfortunately, the world is not being fair, but we still believe that the current development is showing the way that it's telling the world that inshallah, the world will listen to the fair-minded voices across the world.
And when you make that statement, you're taking on for double standards. You're calling on Ghana to show some level of positive neutrality, and yet you're calling one side the oppressor. It's not fair to say that, is it?
Oh, we are not calling for any neutrality in this case. No, that's not the case. Ghana has fought.
Foreign policy is always called for, right?
Ghana-
Non-alignment, ensuring that you're positively neutral in all.
We were on the side of ANC in the case of South Africa. We were also on the side, quote unquote, on the side of Ukraine. If we should use Ukraine example, for instance, that was the reason given by our government. And if in the case of Israel, that knowing very well that Israel has violated Resolution 242, 1966, that called for 2 states, and that called for peace, and knowing very well that kids, the women are being killed, people are being denied of their rights, and you are saying that you're abstaining from this. Out of the 3 countries, out of the 3, 2 voted for that resolution. And for Ghana to have abstained, we thought that was...
I mean, what would have been the difference anyway, knowing the position of Ghana? Non-permanent seat, you have the permanent members of the UN Security Council. A vote would definitely mean absolutely nothing if one of the permanent 5 countries sitting on the UN Security Council simply vetoes whatever decision is taken. So it's not as though we hold wield the ultimate influence in trying to bring peace in the Middle East. Why then are you still mounting pressure on government?
Well, we think that diplomatically it has a lot to do with influence. For us to have 4 rep on the Security Council as Africans, and 2 voted for the resolution, and for Ghana of all country, Kwame Nkrumah Ghana, to be abstained, we think that was not. But you see, there is one thing that people don't know as Ghanaians. Do you know that out of, is it 8 million Israelis, we have 2% Christians and we have 17% Muslims. In fact, in numerical terms, you are talking about just 171% Christians, and you are talking about over 1.5 million people who are Muslims. We're not talking about the public or the numbers in terms of citizens of Israel. We're talking about the regime. If we go back to 1967 resolution, the world is calling for Israel to revisit that resolution, which was signed by Yasser. The gentleman who was murdered, the Israeli prime minister who was murdered, he was killed just because of that. He took that position that, look, we need peace in this world. We need peace to live with our colleagues, our brothers, Palestinians. Let's go for two state accord. And that accord was signed. He returned back to his hometown only to be murdered. What we are saying is that until we go back to such resolution, which has been violated by Israel. In fact, we are not only calling for Ghana to, what do you call it? We are also calling for Ghana to reconsider their diplomatic relationship with Israel.
Really?
Yes, of course.
That's far-fetched, of course, when you make that pronouncement.
There are many countries that have reconsidered their diplomatic relationship with Israel.
Yeah, but I mean,
why should you be killing innocent children, women, and then, as I'm talking to you now, no light, no water, no food. They are not allowing food and water to be given to the ordinary people of Palestine. They've barricaded them, no light, nothing. I mean, what is that? And then it is up to us as good people of this world to mount pressure on Israel. And we think that for Ghanaians to do this, other countries have done it, other countries have gone on the street. For us, tomorrow is supposed to be the day we're supposed to have our procession. We had a fruitful discussion with the police command. And we were okay with it due to the kind of conversation that went between us. And we are humans. Of course, we understood that from today up to Sunday, there's so much overstress in terms of numbers because of the funeral that is going on.
Okay, so that's why you've decided to stand down the protest. I get it. But then you're deciding to take this petition, and just as we've seen, you've presented that to the United Nations Security, the Secretariat actually, here in Accra. The resident coordinator, Charles Abani, has just indicated his position, adding that he will forward, first of all, the petition But the aspect about the Republic of Ghana and what you are asking, he says, cannot be granted unless you direct that towards the president. What are your considerations on that?
Well, the stakeholder of the organization that I represent, we're going to look at it. We have already presented our previous press release to the various agencies, and we think that appropriately we will address one also to the Foreign Affairs. And I think that they have to come back again. That's not Ghanaian.
Well, why are you doing this as a religious grouping? That question has come up as to why it's only a coalition of Muslim groups that are going ahead and filing this petition. You seem to be stoking some sort of religious tension as the criticism has been.
Well, it will surprise you to know that the procession was not only initiated by the coalition of Muslim organizations. We have Socialist Forum, we have Pan-African Movement, and a whole lot of other organizations that are
religious,
of course,
yes,
but
precisely.
They are not religious organizations. Yes. If you're talking about COMOG, yes, I understand. Yeah, okay. But we are also, because we are peace-loving people. Wherever there is peace, we are always happy because we want peace to be on this earth. And so it is up to us. It is our responsibility as Muslims. In fact, to your information, as a Muslims, we are enjoined by our religion to promote peace. And wherever we are, whatever we are doing, we ensure that there is peace. Example is what we mentioned to you about the security services. We didn't insist that we ought to go because we have our constitutional right to go on the streets. We listened to them. And so we are saying that there must be peace in this world. If a resolution has been there since 1967, before I was born, why set aside that resolution and be going to do whatever you're doing? And on top of that, you have America, you have EU, you're talking about Israel alliance, having the audacity to say that, look, Israel, we support you. Meanwhile, knowing very well that Israel has all that it takes, including atomic bomb, and they are killing innocent Palestinians. Where is the fairness?
Are you not one-sided when you give
that
account?
We are not.
And I'm just saying that because the Israeli ambassador to Ghana has been on this platform explaining that the target is Hamas. How many
Hamas have they killed? How many Hamas have they killed? They are killing human beings. They are bombarding hospitals.
But they seem to have a genuine threat.
They have no genuine threat. They are killing. They are killing innocent souls. And they are telling us they are killing Hamas. They should go and target Hamas. You are killing people. You are going to bombard hospitals.
Are you on the same page with the Israeli?
Are you not aware? Are you not aware that they bombarded hospitals?
No,
I just want you to get this clear.
And are you on the same page with the Israeli authorities when they say that Hamas is a threat? Do you agree?
If Hamas is a threat, Israel as a state, Israel as a regime is a threat. You know why? Because they have violated.
Are you endorsing crime? That's the question.
We are not endorsing crime. We are not endorsing crime. If they hadn't violated the what do you call it, the resolution 242, 1967, all this wouldn't have happened. Just agree that there must be two states. Period. And they said no. They want to distinct a whole society, which the land belongs. What is all this? Okay. And we think that is unfair.
The point about October 7th activity, where you had a group of people moving into Israeli territory, killing people. You've not condemned that in your statement.
For me or for us, we condemn every atrocity against innocent persons.
It's not reflecting in this document that you presented to the United Nations.
That's what we are saying, that why not violate? Why did they violate that accord in the first place?
But you're not addressing what happened, the reason for which Israel says they're going to war on Hamas.
I don't think you're pushing me to.
No, I don't think that's what
I don't think that is unfair. It is so clear.
Yes.
It's so clear that one, the cause of the happenings in Gaza, in Israel, is because of what Israel failed to do. Israel has failed to follow an accord. Israel has failed to give freedom to a certain group of persons who are supposed to be the owners of the land. Okay? And then if somebody, a group
decided to cause some harm to your public,
So
then you assume that.
So be it, you're saying.
Of course, no, we are saying that we think that it is not right to kill any human soul, whether on the part of Israel or on the part of Palestine. But we are saying that when the Palestinians have no state, you agree with me, they have no arms, they have no police. So if a society, a group of persons among the Palestinians decided to do something that is condemnable, we ought to condemn it. And we have said it in our statement. You are not using our statement. This one is directed to the Secretary General of.
Precisely.
But our statement.
I thought that would have been reflected in this.
No, you could have read our statement.
Yes.
It was
we condemned.
Well. Yes, we condemned it. We condemned it. We said that is not right. But at the same time, the whole world should let Israel know their right position. That what they are doing, they are not bringing peace in this earth.
Okay. Why should we worry in Ghana? We're in Ghana. We're peaceful. There is cordiality between Muslims and Christians. Why should we worry?
That is why I just want you to understand that please don't let us go Muslim-Christian tangent. We have 2% Christians in Israel. We have 17% of Muslims in Israel. And in Palestine, we have 7%. 7% of Christians living in Palestine. So you can see we have quite a number, 840,000 Christians in Palestine and 171,000 in Israel. So if you're talking about numbers, Christians are rather on the side of Palestine more than Israel. So don't let us bring Christianity and Muslims here. We are talking about Zionist group that is making sure that there is no peace on earth.
We've heard from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. The call is for all feuding faction to return to the negotiating table, at least for talks to happen. The Israeli ambassador is telling us now that there is no room for peace talks because all forms of threats, external aggression against Israel has to be neutralized first before they go into the talks.
Well, that is the arrogancy we're talking about. How on earth will you criticize Secretary General of UN having condemned you? Secretary General of UN has said it all. He has condemned them. Yet, and do you know what they said? They said they are making sure that no UN staff is given visa to Israel. For God's sake, we are only telling the allies of Israel, made up of America and EU, that time has come for them to ensure that there is peace on this earth. It's as simple as that. Our fight is to ensure that there is peace. We don't want any soul to be lost. No children to be killed, for God's sake. For what?
What are your next line of activities? I mean, we know now that you're deciding to occupy all regional capitals as part of your protest. And also beyond that, you're asking for a number of considerations to be made, which the UN resident coordinator is directing you now to the government of Ghana. So what are we to expect from your group in terms of what the next line of action would be? Well,
we are just a small community as part of Ghanaian society, and we can do our best and leave the rest to Allah. For the world to know that at least we have expressed our grievances, we have expressed our solidarity for the people and the oppressed, and we have said our mind, and we have also conveyed our message to the Secretary General that the world is behind him. For us in Ghana, we are behind him, and that we are also telling the world that Israel time has come for the world to see Israel as an aggressor, as an oppressor, as arrogant, as the country that is not bringing
that's when you don't help
peace
matters,
on this
earth. The choice of words you use on Israel is further escalating.
Blessed, I have said to you that if Israel had not murdered their prime minister who signed an accord that there should be two-state policy. It's as simple as that. Both sides signed it. What happened to it? 1967, up to date, what happened to it? When the ambassador comes here, please ask her, what happens to that accord? If they had followed that accord today, there should be peace in that region. At the end of the day, there will be oil, prices that will escalate, and it will affect our economy as Ghanaians. So we think that whatever that happens to any part of this world affects us indirectly. So for us, as Muslims, as Ghanaians, we think that there should be peace in this world.
I'll give you the opportunity to speak to the authorities. Of course, you say you have a special appeal for the president as well. What would that direct message be to the president of the republic? He's spoken on this matter. I'm sure you've heard it.
Well, I didn't hear, but I had. You mean the president?
Yes. President.
Well, I didn't hear the president, but I had a report that there has been remark by His Excellency the President. But I think that if indeed that is the case, we think that is not. It doesn't truly reflect a Ghanaian position, and we think that the advisors should ensure that some kind of diplomacy is brought to bear as far as the commentary.
On whose authority? He's the president of the republic.
Well, we think that, and we are also Ghanaians. We put him there,
Yeah,
and we are also
he
saying
has
that.
the constitutional power of dealing with, external forces.
Well, he has it, and we also have our voice, and we are saying that the president is wrong. If indeed that's what he said, we think the president was wrong. It doesn't reflect the good people of Ghana. That is his view. We think that if he supports Ukraine, he should have equally support Palestine. It's as simple as that.
On what principle?
The principle that he used in supporting Ukraine.
And what's the principle of external aggression?
And who said that Palestinians are not under oppressed by superpowers?
I guess we're not looking at the issues from the same perspective, is it? What's on the table now for Israel is the matter of the latest Hamas attack. Is that where you're looking at issues from?
We have condemned it, and we are also saying that if Israel had followed the accord, the 1966 accord, this Hamas attack wouldn't have happened. That's all we are saying.
And so we endorse violence?
We are not endorsing violence, but we don't endorse oppression.
I see. Anyway, this conversation will continue some more, but Anand, you wish to add some few more words before we go?
Oh no, thank you very much for having us. We still believe that we need peace in this world. Our government should also understand that our foreign policy should continue to exist, should continue to respect the people who are under oppressed. And Palestinians are under oppressed. They are being killed on a daily basis, and we must sympathize with them. Thank you very much.
And I'm sure that you're expecting some answers from the United Nations Secretary General, and as you, of course, are indicating your solidarity with them. You've been assured there'll be a response on that?
Well, he said he's going to deliver our petition to him. We congratulated the General Secretary and for his boldness, and we said we are behind him. For Israel to have that arrogance to say that the man to tender his resignation, that the world is behind him. And I know there are quite a number of persons like ourselves across the world who really go with the comment he made in support of Israel's cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Haj Abdel Manan Abdel Rahman is president of the Coalition of Muslim Organizations, stating their position on this matter. We'll keep watching the space and bring you some updates on this matter. But for now, the flag bearer election of the governing New Patriotic Party has reached its, of course, the apex point, as we are all looking for, as the party engages the police service to provide full security protection in the upcoming Congress, which is slated for November 4. According to the party, it admits the unfortunate infractions recorded during the superdelegates conference of the party and would not want the same incident to actually recur. It is therefore tasking the Ghana Police Service to take some strengthened measures in its operations on the election day without fear or favor during the November Congress. We have more for you in the following report.
The much anticipated Congress of the governing New Patriotic Party, where 4 aspirants are vying to lead the party, is just about a week ahead. As part of preparations, the Elections Committee met with the Ghana Police Service to conclude on the security arrangements. General Secretary of the governing MPP, Justin Frimpong Kodia, charged the Ghana Police Service to take charge of security, whilst admitting infractions that occasioned the Superdelegates Congress.
I must admit that there were certain bit of infractions on 26th of August. And we are hoping that come November 4th, these things will not happen. So, Mr. IGP and your team, you have absolute support of the party. On that day, look at it without fear or favor and act and do your work as you professionally always do.
On the part of the chairman of the Elections Committee of the NPP, Professor Mike Ironokwe, he wants the Ghana Police Service to ensure that the election is not compromised.
The regulations which they have all signed to and which we are going to make available to the police, already available to the EC, is going to be the blueprint of the process. Anyone who disregards this on that day should be dealt with according to law. We want to establish that this country is a lawful nation. And for that matter in particular, the NPP is an advanced party. We claim to be the fathers and mothers of democracy in Ghana, and we will always continue to do so. Therefore, we must act in a manner that is in conformity with the relevant claims that we make.
The IGP, Dr. George Akufudampare, also indicated his readiness to provide what he calls an overdose of security to ensure a free and fair and incident-free elections.
We want to assure you that on the 4th, we are going to give you an overdose of security, and it will be excellent. It will be awesome. All what we require from you is to support us, for each and every one of us to play his or its role.
The Electoral Commission has also communicated its readiness to supervise the election, despite a few challenges. Samuel Tete is the Deputy Director General in charge of elections at the Electoral Commission.
We are almost close to the date, and the Commission is not leaving any stone unturned. We are doing all what we could to make the election successful.
So far, the aspirants have not raised issues regarding the electoral process building up to the Congress of the governing NPP. They are anticipating and expecting a free and fair election. Reporting from the police headquarters here in Accra, Samuel Mbura, Joy News.
And you're watching the Pulse here on the Joy News channel. Still ahead, we're looking at the policy which is being taken in Germany as we speak, the new migration policy that is likely to affect illegal immigrants. There are fears that some Ghanaians may be affected as a result of the exercise. I will speak to some Ghanaians in Germany shortly. Stay with us. We'll be back. And thanks for staying with us. We take you now elsewhere to Europe because Germany is planning some mass deportation of all persons who do not have permission to remain there. That is those whose visas have either expired, those who are, taking some asylum and have been denied, or even those who went there through unapproved means. This afternoon, we're bringing you details on the latest, especially the Ghanaian angle in this whole new drive and immigration policy by Germany. Shortly, we'll be joined by the founder and chairperson of the GH Support Association Germany, a group which is seeking to support Ghanaians through this process. They've been providing some support as well to other African nationals who may not have permission to legally reside in Germany, but we'll be speaking to them on what they're doing to reach out to more Ghanaians. And also joining us is Kweku Yeboah, Component Manager, Ghanaian European Center for Jobs, Migration and Development based in Accra. Well, before we get to all of the conversation, let's bring in Thomas Sparrow. He's with our partners, the DW, reporting and delving more into this migration crisis, which is facing Germany as we speak. So let's get to it, Thomas. What's the basis of this new policy? We stay on this because German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has stoked up the debate around migration by saying Germany must deport illegal immigrants on a grand scale. Proposals are now being discussed in order to decide on how this could actually happen in terms of practice. German politicians have said the country is at the limit of its capacity because of the high number of arrivals. So we now bring in Thomas Sparrow, political correspondent for our partners DW in Berlin, joining me now. Thomas, I was just asking the question earlier. How does Scholz, the Chancellor, plan to carry out these deportations?
The overall goal of the German government is, on the one hand, to reduce the number of migrants that are arriving in the country irregularly, in other words, that do not have the right to stay, and at the same time increase the number of migrants that are arriving in the country that are high-skilled and can fill a gap in a number of professions where there are problems in this area. Specifically on the first issue, namely making sure that fewer irregular migrants arrive, the German Chancellor stressed that there will be a series of measures both at a national level and at the EU level. This is particularly important because Germany cannot resolve the issue of migration on its own. At a national level, the German Chancellor has already implemented some measures, including stricter border controls at Germany's borders with other European countries. But at the EU level, the main issue, and by the way, an issue that has already been discussed for many years, still remains unresolved completely, namely the fair distribution of migrants throughout the different European countries. This is still a very big issue here in Europe.
And there are many who are asking the question, how big is this problem of migration in your country?
It is a big problem here in Germany, and already the numbers of arrivals are being compared to the height of Germany's refugee crisis in 2015 and 2016. Only in the month of September, over 20,000 migrants, irregular migrants, came to Germany. That's the highest number since February 2016. And already high-ranking German officials, including the German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who's the head of state, have said that Germany has reached its limit, the limits of its capacity when it comes to receiving and welcoming these migrants and also integrating these migrants into Germany's society. This is something that, by the way, you also see in cities and municipalities that have been complaining also for weeks and months that they need more help from the federal government. So it is indeed a very big problem, and one that probably prompted Chancellor Scholz to say this statement that Germany now has to start deporting irregular migrants or illegal migrants on a large scale.
Except that now it's beginning to stoke a lot of tensions. But tell me, how are Germans actually reacting to this latest proposals?
Both generally on the issue of migration and specifically when it comes to the reaction by the German government, Germans are very critical indeed. A majority of Germans, according to a recent nationwide poll, stressed that migrants bring more disadvantages than advantages to Germany and that the numbers should be reduced. And they're also very critical when it comes to the way the government has been dealing with this issue, when it comes not only to the arrival and reception of refugees, but also when it comes to issues that are more long-term, like the integration of refugees, and specifically also when it comes to deporting illegal or irregular refugees. So this has also increased pressure on the German government to act more on these issues.
Meanwhile, the German Chancellor announced a trip to 2 African countries. Let's get the details of the countries' history.
And all this comes actually at a time when German Chancellor Scholz is expected to travel to West Africa for 3 days, starting next Sunday. He's expected to visit Abuja and Lagos in Nigeria and then Accra in Ghana. And Scholz will travel with a high-ranking business and cultural delegation, which gives you an idea of the trip's priorities. Scholz, the Chancellor, is expected to hold talks with the Nigerian president, the Ghanaian president and the chairman of the ECOWAS Commission. Now, German officials said strengthening ties with African nations is indeed a high priority for the German government, especially at a time of security and economic challenges. And according to the German government, the most important topics of the trip are regional security and cooperation on topics such as economic development or climate change.
I see. Joining us on Zoom now, and thanks Thomas for giving us the latest from Berlin where you are. But on Zoom with us is the founder and chairperson of the Ghana Support Association Germany, GQ, who's joining us via Zoom now to have a conversation on this. Thank you, sir. And you've been monitoring the space as well. Congratulations for at least supporting and reaching out to other Ghanaians who might be affected through this policy. What official briefing are you receiving, first of all, on the timeline, the window that you have to try and reach out to all these Ghanaians who might not have their papers ready? And kindly unmute for me, sir, while you make the point.
Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you for having me on the show. I'm GQ at the moment in Saarbrücken, which is the smallest, the capital of Saarland, chairman of the Gene Support Association in Germany. Basically, I think we still need to have to go to the details when there is a policy here, because most of our nationals having much difficulties with the language. So there must be a provision given to us in terms of learning the language to make it more easier for us to get into the system.
I see. So is language the only barrier here, or what are the other requirements for making these people regular migrants, if that opportunity is there?
I think basically the language barrier here. But then I look at the policy. For instance, most Ghanaians, they are born talented, but in education-wise, it's not much a trend. And this policies is not going to favor most of the Ghanaians, probably from the Cameroonians or other nationals. But Ghana, I see there's a bit challenges here. There should be more flexibility for the policy.
So what kind of help are you providing now, which I'm interested in? What's your priority now in terms of the type of help you would like to extend to these people?
Well, we accompany most of the Ghanaians or most of the Africans here having problem with the language to the foreign office, to the labor office, translate their letters for them into the Twi language or English language. We help them looking for apartment if they don't have insurance or having difficulties with their rent. We come in to translate, and we also work close with the police if they have to explain themselves in case of any difficulties. So we are here doing across the country.
I see. Looking at the numbers, how many, in terms of estimation, are you able to tell us who might be affected as a result of the exercise? Perhaps from where you are, looking at the numbers from where you are.
Well, if I guess properly, I think the Ghanaians the Ghanaians might be today 60,000.
60,000?
Yes, 60,000 across the country. And but this might not be included those with the German passport, because those with the German passport are not considered as the Ghanaians. But then we see them as the Ghanaians, because even their passport, the place of birth shows you clearly that Boise, Accra, Sunyani, and South. We have about 60,000 Ghanaians in Germany across the country.
Why is this a big issue or a major issue in Germany as we speak? Why do we find the influx, many people moving towards that part of the world, especially from Ghana and the West Africa sub-region?
Because we see Germany is a very good place to start a new life. But I think in terms of policy, it's much difficult for foreigners to step into it. It's good that they are trying to bring this new migrant policy from November this year, but they started back in 2018. They started discussing in the Federal Council, but never came to pass. So we hope. And we see at back office, a country like Ghana is an English-speaking country. And if you want skilled workers to come to Germany to work, and then you give a first line that they must do a German text before you can give them the provision to come. It means you've still limited them to come to Germany. So I think the policy should be twisted a bit, that they can come with their talent, because we believe most Ghanaians are much talented in terms of what they do. And once they are here, they can learn the language aside. But if you impose a law that they must do a text, the German text, once they pass, it will be able then to come to Germany. You still limited them to come.
And I've been trying to look at the kind or sort of reaction greeting this policy from the African diaspora where you are. It's not been favorable so far. Share the experiences with me.
At all. Things still must be done. We see, I always say that we are on the ground, so we know the difficulties on the ground. So if they make policy in Berlin, they should also look at the grounds, how it will help those, because we have the rich, middle, and the low class. So when you make a policy, you shouldn't consider looking at the top rank. Then you limited those on the grounds. That is the problem that the migrants are facing in Germany, and that is a fact. Even though Germany has short of labor since 2017, that is why they plan to bring this migrant policy, skilled workers into the system. But still, you need to go to the German text before you are able to come. That is a problem over there.
I see. 60,000 people estimation. We're just working with that figure. I'm wondering if all of these people will be deported. That's a significant number.
No. All of them will be there. Those 60,000 are generally those who also have the German staying permit. German staying permit.
Okay, so some have the opportunity of just taking advantage of the permits.
But those might be deported, ranking probably 5,000 to 7,000 across the country.
Wow. How smooth is that process, the process you're referring to now?
Germans, they normally do things not in rush. They take time to make decisions, and except certain cases, they can just bring to a court and decide as quick as possible. But you can predict. But I believe to the end of the year, things will move and then decision will be made.
I see. Just stay on with us because also joining the conversation is Kweku Yeboah. He's a component manager, Ghanaian European Center for Jobs, Migration and Development. And Kweku, you've also been listening to this latest migration policy being introduced by the German government. Fortunately, we're learning that the German Chancellor himself will be to a number of West African countries, including Ghana and Nigeria. These are countries also added to the list of the high-rated influx, immigrants living there in Germany who might be affected as a result of this exercise. Tell me, is this policy going to be as harsh as many are predicting it to be?
Yes, sure. Oh, it's not me. Okay.
Yes, quickly.
Okay.
Yes, quickly. Yes, if you can hear me.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear, sir.
Good, thank you. So, largely, the policy obviously is not going to be overly harsh. All policies have their negative and positive sides, but I doubt its harshness to that extent. There are various components of the policy that will surely inure to the benefit of the country. Where I work with the GIZ, the Ghanaian European Center, which is commissioned by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation. And one of the key things we are doing on a regular migration front is to support the capacity development of our people, i.e. those from the TVET institutions, those from the tertiary institutions, to explore opportunities using migration as a 360 degrees enterprise to support the development of our people to find jobs, not only here in Ghana, but also abroad, including Germany. And the policy is making room for this. I just got out of a meeting with the EU, and one of the key components of the discussion is regular migration and how the Ghanaian skilled labor can take advantage of it, given the youth unemployment situation here. This opens another window for the country, and I think this is the focus for the Ghanaian European Center as far as the policy under consideration is concerned.
And since you've been receiving some briefing on that, do we know now from the Ghanaian perspective if there's any official figures being put to it as to the estimated number of people who might be affected as a result of the exercise, possible deportations, and some remedial measures for those who are already there who may take advantage of a lifeline to just become a regular migrant in Germany?
I will not be able to give you exact figures. I think there are state institutions that handle that component. What my work relates to largely is how can we support not only the reintegration of Ghanaians who are returning home, and I'm here talking about not only those who for documentation purposes have to come back, but also even voluntary returnees. And this support we have been providing for the Ghanaian migrant population who are returning since 2017. I mean, we are talking about helping them start their businesses here in Ghana, helping them find accommodation. We give them accommodation support for over a year. And as I said, these are all funded by the German government. The attempt is to support the successful reintegration of returning Ghanaians, whether they are voluntary returnees or people who, for legal reasons, have to return home. So to be specific on the numbers, I'll say these can be provided much more suitably by state institutions in the sector. But our focus is largely supporting the successful reintegration of the Ghanaian community, which is now being complemented by regular migration support as well.
The interesting fact about it is that while we work to check the figures out there, right here in our country, you still have a lot more of our youthful population moving out into Europe. Are you mindful of that, worried also, and what policies should our governments be considering on this?
Yeah, clearly there is a significant number of our people who have interest to go to Europe. Yes, from our end, our focus has been providing counseling services for people who desire to go to Europe to use regular migratory approaches and not the irregular means which exposes them to dangers and so on. So the center, which is again under the GIZ Ghana, provides not only information and career sessions for communities and schools, but we are also supporting capacity building for state institutions. We work under the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations and directly with the Labor Department to provide information for people who desire to go outside. So what we are doing is trying to encourage regular migration and to look to tap in the positive sides of migration for purposes of our people. Don't forget, yes, we need to have as many of the labor force here in Ghana, but there are also those we produce, so many of them who are not finding the opportunities that they require. And there are also those who desire to go and learn, do further studies abroad to build their capacity. And I think the most important thing which we do is to provide support for these people to be able to get whatever capacity needs they require appropriately.
We're grateful that you've spent some time with us. We'll keep monitoring the space and bring you up to speed. GQ, if you're with us, any final words from Germany? And what would you want Ghanaians here to know about, the immigration trends and also taking such perilous journeys as some of them have done?
Well, the advice I'll give to Ghanaians is they should look to the right channel to come, because if you come without documents, you are not able to rent an apartment. You might have a problem with insurance, because when you're sick, you can't go to the hospital. But I think our government should simply build a structure for the Ghanaians not to travel. If you're looking at the Arab world, before Libya was collapsed and other Arab wars, they were not traveling. And why? Because the facilities were provided for them. So I think more focus on the government. Once you have a place to stay, to work, to get a little income, you might not have interest to travel. But I think Germany is also a good place to come. But Germany, they must twist the policy a bit for us. If they want to accept us, if they want us to come,
right,
they still have to look at the policy for us to come.
Grateful. Kweko, any final words from your side?
Yeah, I think of importance is what do we get from the entire migratory processes. And that is where my focus will be. Yes, it is important we build structures to make sure we have as many people here in the country, and that is already ongoing. There are various programs within government structures and even through development cooperation to support, yes. But we also don't have to deny ourselves the opportunity that migration brings. I mean, remittances are a key contribution to our fiscal space, and I don't think we have to cut that. What we have to do is to explore the positives of migration, and that is what the Ghanaian European Center and the GIZ, with support of the German government, is doing. And I believe that if we are able to sensitize our people to tap into the regular opportunities that are available for migration, that is quite useful for they themselves,
Right.
for the host country, and for Ghana as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwiku, and we'll definitely be in touch as this matter unfolds. Let's now speak to some Ghanaians who are now, of course, they've been forced to return home a few months ago, and this is due to the ongoing war in Sudan. Many of us have heard about this, but the Global Union of Ghanaian Scholars is issuing a statement pointing out that it is deeply concerned about the plight of these Ghanaian students from Sudan. The students who were pursuing their various dreams and education abroad are now facing uncertainty and also some challenges when it comes to their academic progression. So lived experience is what we're hearing about today as I bring to you Naima Abdul Aziz, a Ghanaian student Union of Sudan. She is the chair lady there, and also Aisha Mustafa supporting the chair lady of Ghanaian students in Sudan. Thank you, ladies, for joining us in studio. So let's start off by hearing from the chairperson. You are the chairperson, obviously, and it must have been a trying time for your members, because I recall I was at the Kotoka International Airport when the first batch of students arrived. The experiences they were sharing was very traumatic. And now you are home, but you're not able to get academic progression. What's been the challenge over the period, and what's been the problem from your perspective?
So, some of the challenges majority of us are facing is one, frustration. Frustration. We were frustrated during the war. We were brought home safely, and up till now, we are hoping, continuous students are hoping to be integrated into the universities in Ghana so they can continue their education, because education really matters in this life.
I see. Let's try and personalize the story. In your case, for instance, where did you leave off? Because I understand most of you are medical students there in Sudan. Is that the case with you as well? So you were almost ending? What's your story?
I graduated, but I didn't get my certificate.
From the school? Yes, please. Is it the case that you're not able to reach the school, get them to send it over? Yes, okay.
Ongoing.
Right.
But when the war happens, everything came to a cease. So as at now, we are pleading with our government to help integrate the new students, and those who can help us get certificates.
I see. I'll come back to you on what the authorities told you when you came back home. But is that the same story you have? Were you also a medical student, or which course were you studying in school back then?
Okay, so I'm a medical student.
Right.
I completed 4th year medical school.
Okay.
So going to 5th year before the war happened.
Okay.
So first of all, my name is Aisha.
And you're supposed to do how many years in all?
6 years.
6. Okay. So you had 2 more to go. Yes.
Yes, please. So with that, with the question you directed to Neymar, yes, as Neymar said, we are really frustrated, and there are some triggers or some questions that are asked by our families, by our friends, and then seeing friends going to school whilst you are home, you are not working, there's nothing that is done, and then there is no hope, in as much as the government has promised to reintegrate us into the Ghanaian school system, but then we haven't had any documented promise or facts, and then there are no dates given, nothing. It's just a verbal promise, and we don't know where it will take us to and when actions will be taken.
When you were, being brought back home, what assurances were you given? Were you taken through some processes? Were you assured? Was there any form of documentation, at least, just to promise you on what the next line of action was?
The promises were all verbal.
Okay.
So up till now, it's been almost 6 months now since we entered Ghana. We arrived on the 2nd of April.
Okay.
May,
right.
So it's 5 months and I think 24 days now. So if something should happen, some institutions have started. So at least there should be hope. There should be any form of a letter or information telling us that, so the Ghanaian students who were brought back home.
This is the way forward.
This is the way forward.
Right.
But nothing, everything.
Absolutely nothing. Have you tried reaching out to the authorities who brought you back?
Yes, we wrote letters.
Right. Oh, okay. And is there a response to the letters?
We've had some responses.
Right.
So some of the letters were directed to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So upon arrival, we met the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they gave us the initial promise of the reintegration process. So we wrote a letter to them. That's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We also wrote a letter in collaboration with the Ghanaian Global Union of Ghanaian Scholars. We wrote a letter in collaboration with them to the Ministry of Education and the Educational Committee of Parliament.
Okay, right.
We also wrote a letter to His Excellency the Vice President, of which we haven't had any response yet. So we've written numerous letters, but to no avail.
So not even a single committee or institution responded to you, or at least you got some responses?
The only response we got was from the Director of Tertiary Education in Ghana here, Dr. Yaira. He gave us a verbal promise of reintegrating us into the private universities, of which we cannot afford, honestly.
I see. So the plan is to move you into private universities. That's not on paper yet, but at least the verbal assurance that you're giving. What's the plan? To have all the medical students move into these private institutions? What's the plan?
If we could afford these prices or the fees for private institutions, you wouldn't go for the scholarships. So if we are pleading for them to integrate us, please not to a private institution.
So let's get this clear. Most of your members, and how many are you in terms of the numbers?
We are 70,
right.
46 undergraduates, 22 graduates, 2 master students.
So over 70 students. Most of you, from the understanding and what you're telling me, you're on scholarship. So it's not as though you are the ones funding the tuition and perhaps you're boarding there.
Yes.
All of us are on scholarship. None of us went there to pay for our fees. It was a scholarship program. So that's how come we left there. Trust me, if we had the money, we wouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's it.
How has life been? Sitting home and watching your colleagues go to school. You say it's traumatic.
Very traumatic. Sometimes we feel like we are failures because, yes, we've had verbal promises, but when are we starting? Has there been any dates? Nothing. So we don't know whether we will actually be going back to school or not. So sometimes we feel like failures because trust me, personalizing it, going to medical school was like a dream come true for myself and to my family.
Yeah.
So coming back without any certificates is really devastating.
If you had the second opportunity, would you go back to Sudan?
Well, if it was a scholarship, yes, I would. But knowing that this war and everything, I wouldn't have. Because Sudanese people are really nice people, honestly, and I really love them. But then the war just made everything bad. Yeah.
Such a trying moment for these students. We'll be trying to get some answers, but also joining us via Zoom now is Lord Mark Mensah, President of the Union. And you've been working out there in the UK, trying to support your counterparts who have now returned to Ghana. You started the process when they were in Sudan, I recall speaking to you. But now, what's the way forward? Are you making any further attempts to reach out to government, the ministry perhaps, to get some solution? We're unable to hear you. Just unmute so we can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Hello, Bless. How are you doing? Thanks for having me here, and good evening to your listeners, to wherever they are. It's a frustrating, like you heard the lady rightly said there. You asked a question that I was cringing here, that if they have the opportunity to go back to Sudan, would they go? I was shocked hearing, and her response was that she will go back. That all you can see there is desperation, and she explained what the situation is like. Frustration, coming out of a war situation with the trauma and the disappointment, and then staying home for all these whiles. The government is doing nothing. Bless, we had this conversation before, and I remember telling you that what we need is a policy that in case anything happened to international students and scholars abroad, and they're coming back to the country. What is the policy? What do we have to do for them? The government needs to have a clear-cut procedure and processes that will take them through. It has happened before in Ukraine, so at least we have some templates. Like we have a template. How was these guys from Sudan, our students from Sudan, Ukraine, how were they integrated into the system? So we have the template. So why can't we do the same for those who are coming from Sudan? And by the way, when they met the tertiary, the head of the tertiary institutions from the Ministry of Education, all they are speaking about or talking about is medical students. But from Sudan, they have engineers, they have also other accountants or people pursuing other courses. And we have to look across board. We will not take some of them to institutions and leave them. So that is where we are right now.
Is it the case that there's difficulty in trying to reach the very same people who helped to do the repatriation? You were very quick, very effective on that score. I recall the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs speaking to us, addressing the President, saying that coordination happened because they had, connectivity, they were communicating with your group. So how come that's no longer happening after we had the people come back home?
Blaise, I'm not sleeping. You remember when we had this conversation? We mobilized and helped them inside Sudan. We had to send money to them, and then they were asked to come to the borders before the government will evacuate them. So we appreciate the government taking them or repatriating them to Ghana. But we did all those cooperation or those hard work, getting them money to them, then them traveling through this difficult bombing and all these bullets, war zone, and then they got to Ethiopia. Finally, you took them gracefully back to Ghana. Now, for all these years, for all these months, we have tried everything, contacting the government, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and nobody's responding. Some of them went recently, I think 2 weeks ago, to meet the minister or ministry of, minister responsible for tertiary institutions. Again, they were promised verbally. Nothing has been said or written formally, and no action has been taken so far. And this, we're talking about young life. These are the future leaders of our country, right? And you bring them back home and then leave them like that. It's so heartbreaking.
Finally, what will be the next step? Would you try another attempt just to try and reach out, try and get some solutions? Because speaking to these young girls, the essence is we want to get back into the classrooms, at least for those who are almost finishing school, they want to get into the medical practice. So what's the next line of action?
The next line of action is that we are still going to push. We are still going to, pursue our agenda or our plan, or making sure that the government here or adhere to our plea on behalf of these young people. They are young and they are desperate, they are frustrated, they are traumatized, and they need to go back to the classroom. Like I said earlier on, we have done it before, and so we'll continue to do that. We wrote to the minister again 2 days ago, yesterday. We have written clearly and we made recommendations on what exactly needed doing for these young people. And so we are hoping that we will, get some positive response from them. Until that, we'll keep pushing until we would find the right button to press to make sure that the government and the stakeholders involved listen to the cry of these young people who are desperately in need of support and help going back to the classroom and integrating back into the system.
Not a very good time. I can imagine the trauma they are all going through, but we'll be monitoring the efforts, and kudos to you as well. We wait to see what the outcome will be. Lord Mark Mensah.
Plus, we are not resting at all. Myself, I'm not sleeping. I get phone calls every day, and as you can listen to them say, cry. They cry on the phone every time. And as a father, I feel it. I feel the pain. I feel they are, and something needs to be done. So we are pleading with you as well, the media. If you can help us in any way at all, please do your best. Press those buttons, and let's all work together and make sure that the government immediately, as a matter of urgency, do something and support these ladies and gentle men back to the classroom so that they can pursue
their dreams and visions for the future.
Yeah, I believe
Thank you
many
very
within
much.
the ministries are watching us now. All we need is the help that these young girls and the others out there are appealing for. We're wrapping up. Do you have any message for the authorities? What would that be? Let me start off with you.
Okay, so I would like to thank them for the successful evacuation process. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Embassy of Ghana in Cairo and in Ethiopia,
Right.
the Global Union of Ghanaian Scholars are doing very well for us, and we are really, really appreciative of them. Thank you very much for all the support, and we are pleading on you, the government of Ghana, His Excellency the Vice President, please come to our aid. We need, as Dr. Lord Mark Mesa mentioned, we are the future leaders, and then we cannot quit. We cannot quit, so please help us go back to school. Thank you.
For you? Your message?
She has said
Yeah.
everything. So all what we are pleading is we have hope for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So please, the government should come to our aid. We want to go back to school.
I see. I see that you're down, but of course we can only urge you that there is, of course, some hope coming through. We wait on the authorities to see what the outcome will be. Let's take you now to the Volta region because the Ekosumbo floods disaster continues to significantly impact education. Some affected students have turned to hawking and also other menial jobs just to make ends meet. Amongst them is Abednego Agbo, an 18-year-old first-year student of the Komboni Vocational Technical School. He's now selling Aigbe biscuits in the bustling traffic of Sugakope in the Southern district of the Volta region. He laments his dreams of becoming an immigration officer is at risk due to the flooding situation. Well, Carlos Caloni has been to the community and now reports.
This is Komboni Technical Vocational Institute, which has remained locked and inaccessible for weeks due to floods induced by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. The fate of the 1,700 students hangs in the balance. While students in other regions receive their lessons, those affected by this disaster in the school resort to menial work due to closure of their classrooms. Abednego Agbo, an 18-year-old first-year student studying automobile engineering, now sells Aigbe biscuits in the midst of traffic jams in Sogakope. He tells Joy News how worried he is about the loss of lessons.
I'm from Sogakope here. I'm schooling at Komboni Technical Institution. And right now, as we all know, the Volta River has flooded, and our compound now is flooded. So we are no more going to school. So I'm here to manage this one after that. Then when the water comes down, then we go back to school. So we are waiting, we are waiting, and we are begging the government that it should come to our aim to come and help us so that we'll go to the school before the ending of this year. Yeah.
Which year are you and what are you reading?
Okay, I'm in first year and I'm offering automobile engineering. Yeah, so right now when you go to the school, you see that our department all over there is water. So we are begging the government, if not, our machines will go damaged. And when we resume school, we don't know which machine we use to do practical works again. We are not going to school, so now we don't know where to go and learn again. So as for some of us, we are the host home and we are learning on our own. So we are begging the government, because they said before the water comes, they said we are going to write exam. So but right now, we are at home. It's left with 2 weeks to start the exam.
Abednego says he fears his dream of becoming an immigration officer in future may be in jeopardy if the situation persists.
Some of my colleagues too, some are riding motor and some are fishing in other communities. And me too, this is what I want to be doing so that at the time that the water will come down, then we'll go back to school. Yes, for me, my vision is to become an immigration officer in future. So because of this, that's why I'm going to the school. So I'm begging the government to come to our aid and help us. so that I can achieve my aim in future.
Speaking to Joy News, the principal of Komboni Technical Vocational School, Harry Peter Ajima, insists there is an urgent need for intervention plan to keep the students out of the streets.
1,700 who are first and second years who are still with us. They are affected. They have not finished their semester. They are supposed to finish their semester 30th November, but we are now in the house. And we don't know whether we can come to school before then. So they are badly affected. And as students as they are, once they are not in school, some of them take to this Okada riding, selling at the bridge side. So as they are not in school, they are doing that. And is the reason why we think there must be some alternative plan to let them either be attending class somewhere or maybe when we school we can recover within 3-4 weeks. Then we have intervention plan to cover for it, cover for the lost periods.
Even though floodwaters seem to be receding in some affected areas, it remains uncertain when normal academic activities can resume. Carlos Caloni, Joy News.
We stay within the Southern areas because on the floodings, the deplorable road network leading to Agave Afeduma in the Southern districts of the Volta region is impeding access to relief items by flood victims. The concern was raised by the Assembly member for the area, Christian Kwesi, when the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana defined the nature of the roads to donate some relief items there.
The road to Ziweno is in terrible shape with potholes, dust, and narrow passage. Over 45 houses have crumbled, displacing countless residents. Flood victims need urgent help. When the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, ICAG, donated relief items to the tune of 70,000 Ghana cedis, Assemblyman for Apedume electoral area, Christian Kwesi Voyeho, raised concerns about the road obstructing relief efforts.
Our road is extremely deplorable. Some of our sisters and brothers living in Accra want to come to us, but they found it difficult coming to us because of the deplorable nature of our road. The road is Agave Apedume Road, starting from Gradisco through Makoje, through Asidovi, Akplane to Agbeve. So we are appealing to the government to come to our aid and construct this road for us.
The journey to these communities was backbreaking, to say the least. The estimated 15-minute trip along the 14-kilometer road took the team well over an hour to navigate. Upon arrival, the team had to endure an additional 6-minute walk to reach the riverbank.
We are going to Ziwenu in the Agave Apedume electoral area, and it's because we don't have a direct access. The flooding water has cut the Ziwenu community off.
Your experience?
It was terrible.
It was what?
But it was a nice experience.
Following a thorough assessment of the damage here, the team provided hot meals to the victims along with mattresses, blankets, bags of rice and more. Speaking to Joy News, the Director of Finance and Administration at the ICAG, Joyce Opoku-Dodu, explained that this donation aligns with the organization's commitment to ensuring environmental sustainability.
Looking at the devastating nature of what has happened, we decided to also come and do our bit to bring some comfort into the lives of these people. As an institute, this year is our 60th anniversary, and the theme for our 60th anniversary is promoting sustainability, nurturing trust, and building partnership. Sustainability for us is all about the environment. It's very unfortunate that this is happening, but what we can do to make somebody feel a bit comfortable, to make some people have a very peaceful sleep, that is why we are here, and that is what we have done. We believe that these mattresses will go a long way to help. The blankets will be used to cover the young ones who have been exposed.
However, Madame Dodu made a heartfelt plea to the authorities, urging them to address the deplorable road situation to enhance relief efforts.
We thought we were coming to a village close to Ada, but then when we started turning off the main road, we realized that we asked ourselves how many people will even drive on this road and come and give hand of help to our people. It's so sad. The road is so terrible, and if you don't take care, it will put you off and you go back to Accra with your things. But because we were determined to make an impact, we were able to, we went through it, and then we are here. We are just praying that we'll go back safely on the road, and our cars will be able to get back to Accra safely. But we are appealing to the government. These people need help, and the help should be able to come on quite a good road. People should be encouraged to come. So if something can be done about the road, so that those who want to help them will be able to drive here and help them.
The assemblyman expressed his gratitude to ICAG for their benevolent gesture.
I once again want to thank Institute of Chartered Account Ghana for coming to our aid during this damage that the spillage has caused to the people of Agave Apeduma, specifically the people of Gojekota, the people of Apeduma, Asidovi, and then Akroti communities. We want to say that we appreciate the relief items given to us.
As the Akosombo dam spillage continues to ravage these hard-to-reach communities, it becomes paramount to prioritize relief efforts in these areas. Carlos Galoni, Joy News.
And Joy News will remain in the communities and bring you some updates on the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. But that's all time will allow us here on the Pulse. With me, Blessed Sudan. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have many stories there for you. We're taking a break, but when we return, next will be Let's Talk Showbiz. Stay on the Joy News channel. Thanks for watching.